Well, that went fast. So I haven't been able to focus as well as I usually do on my personal work this month, partly because of a certain video game that released on the 12th, but also because I think I was a little burnt out and trying to focus on too many things, such as looking out for more studio work, which I think was stressing me a bit and just made me feel a little bit stuck with what to do next with my work. I thought to myself, what's something I could do that's fun and helps me work towards a beneficial goal for the end of this month without overwhelming myself? And one thing I like to do every time I apply for a job is look at what the requirements are for it and really try and work that into my own portfolio for the future. And one thing I saw which kind of got to me a bit was saying to show your process. And I have not been so great at doing this until recently, and even now I still feel that it's something I need to work on. You see, my sketches and initial concepts can be very messy and over the place a lot of the time, which works when it's just me who needs to refer to them, but if it's others needing to ever look at them, it could be a little difficult to understand what my ideas are. So I thought I would do a small, simple project where I really focus on showing my entire process presented clearly and a bit more structured. To begin, sketches and thumbnails. I had this idea of an old bear character for my current project floating around my head for a while and decided this could be a nice, simple subject to do this project for. I keep the sketches simple but clear, experimenting with the shapes and just trying to find what I'm looking for while keeping it a little bit more clear and concise. I then do a more detailed character sheet based on these thumbnails. I wanted a very simple body structure for the bear, as this would make poses and expressions a little easier, but also because I felt this worked well for the character, and I find that simpler designs can sometimes work more effectively than a more complex design. Having these sheets and sketches drawn clearly actually makes it easier for me to construct a more detailed character sheet. Since I took the time to really decide what basic shapes would structure this character, it became more fun to figure out how to draw them in certain poses, being able to focus more on bringing out the personality and life of the character. I also did another sheet of some additional birds I wanted to accompany this character, again using simpler, more stylized shapes. It was then time to move to setting up an environment. I do a really rough sketch of how I want the bear's little garden to be laid out, and then I work on some planning sheets for how certain aspects, such as the bear's house, both interior and exterior, would roughly look. Again, I tried to keep these sketches as neat as I can, so anyone would be able to understand what my ideas and intentions are. I also felt it was important to write down some extra details, mostly for me to remember when I got further into the design process. I also start sketching out what's going to be in the bear's garden, how it is run, and what facilities do they have there. I had the concept for a giant outdoor oven, and I made it bear-shaped, which I thought was fun, and it linked back to the character a bit more. I also made a couple of sheets to show what kind of plants the bear grows, with emphasis on this giant plant which stretches over the oven, as well as a little sketch sheet just showing what types of other plants and vegetation would be scattered around the garden as well. The next stage is both my most and least favourite, which is creating a rough Blender model. This is so I can map out how the basic structure of the garden will look, based on that rough sketch I showed earlier. I unfortunately do not keep these models organised, and the bottom of this one is an absolutely glorious mess of shapes. But it makes for some really good screenshots which I use for drawing over, and it is a real lifesaver for when I potentially start making comics and I have all the perspective and layout already there to sort of reference to. The last stage then is story. So story is always something I have in mind while completing these other stages. It's just something I like to show last because it's a build-up of all the other steps. So I mentioned earlier about the giant plant that grows in the bear's garden, and I had the idea of the plant producing berries, which when cooked and prepared in the large oven produces a honey-like substance which the bear sells in bottles to his neighbours and uses in a whole range of recipes. I also just think about how I can tell the story of this bear visually. Things like what their daily life and routine is like, what kind of furniture they have, what pictures and paintings they might have hanging up. I tried to do some storyboard comic sketches to get some more insight myself in how the bear's life could be like, and it's simple things like this which really helps me build my storytelling skills in a less overwhelming way. Even though I haven't really done everything I wanted to for this yet, it felt really good to take a step back from some bigger stuff, which I think was burning me out, and focus more on the smaller, simpler work, which has helped me grow my confidence and skills just that little bit more. And it just felt good to take a step back from doing more complicated work straight away and just trying to build it up a little bit more slowly, which I think has made me feel a little bit more ready as well to take on bigger stuff now. Which I'll keep continuing to do, and I'm hoping to have a little bit more of a complex video for my next one, but I think for this month I'm just glad that I stuck to a smaller subject and just tried to build it up as much as I could. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video.